Hey everybody, this is Professor Jason Snart. I'll be your instructor for our 8-week English 1102 course online here at COD, sort of virtually. It's the first day of classes and my voice has like abandoned me at 8 in the morning, so that's a great start. But anyway, I thought I would check in to say hi and to let you know that I am an actual real person in an actual office with my degree somewhere up here, a towel for the gym, like normal stuff, next to a John Deere calendar, if you're interested. Anyway, I do a whole bunch of these video, just like sort of check-ins, very informal, clearly nothing scripted, usually just reminding you of due dates, of maybe upcoming work that we're doing, of how pieces of the course connect together, of how to do certain things, but none of it is sort of additional to what's already in the course. So I really encourage you to watch these as a way of feeling sort of connected to the class, but also you'll hopefully notice that if you're reading carefully through the various material within the course, that there's really nothing new that's presented in these videos. So it may seem a little contradictory, but I don't want to sort of exclude anybody who maybe can't access these videos or whatever. You can always get the stuff in the course. But again, one of my main goals when I teach online is really to make it feel like not a classroom experience exactly, because I'm not trying to pretend that we can do that same sort of stuff online, but certainly like a real class, like you're here, you know, kind of engaging with the stuff that I'm doing. And then what you'll see right off the bat is that before we even get to the content of the class, what I'm asking you to do is to engage with your classmates, just like you would in like a face-to-face class. So this introductory video is really just to say hi. I'll make some points about maybe being a successful online learner, or how to improve your chances for success, particularly taking an English course, and also to stress the degree to which I hope your experience in this course is a positive one, not just in terms like you get a good grade or individually you do good work, but that you actually feel like you were part of a sort of class experience. You've had lots of opportunity to interact with me, to be sort of present in the course yourself, but also to interact with classmates. So it's not like some online classes I think are still often feel like a sort of very solitary experience, and you're just sort of out there and you're like submitting things in Blackboard or emailing even to an instructor that you never really get to meet, and you know, that doesn't seem like a very good experience to me. And of course, fundamentally, I believe that having a good sort of dynamic, interactive experience online isn't just good for its own sake, but it actually improves your performance in the class. So it's not like the grade that you get and your experience in the class are two separate things. I think they're actually, you know, much more deeply linked than that. So anyway, what you'll see in our course over to the left in the course menu as you're watching this is a whole bunch of the things that we'll be using, like our units that we work through, the due dates, of course. There's a link to your grade so you can be keeping up with how you're doing. There's a direct link to the discussion boards that we do almost on a week or a unit by unit basis, although you'll notice that within each unit, if we have a discussion board assignment, you can get to it directly there as well. But one of the first things that you'll see, so you'll always land here at the announcements page, so you'll see a new video or a new little text note or whatever it happens to be. Right below that, for now though, you'll see our orientation video and materials associated with that. And so again, before we get into any of the course content, it's really important for me to have you feel like you're sort of comfortable within the course. Again, not just the content part of it, but sort of like where everything is laid out, how it's connected, and then some tips to be successful as an online learner. And so I don't totally subscribe to this idea that you have to be a particular kind of person to do well online, or if you're not that kind of person, then you just shouldn't do online, or any of those really blanket statements. But I think there are some useful things to keep in mind to be successful, not just in an English course online, but really any online course. You'll also notice that part of what's within that orientation piece, in addition to the video and some text stuff to look at, is a very brief orientation quiz. Again, having nothing to do with English 1102 per se, but just our or the idea of an online class or being an online student. And so it's really telling to me, and this is sort of part of what I'm going to get into now, when people don't, do the quiz because they don't find it. So why don't they find it? Well, they skip the orientation entirely. That, again, tells me a lot about how you're trying to take the course. Or they pop into that and then scroll to they try to find the thing to do, the assignment, right? And because that's not immediately available, you have to work through some other stuff within that orientation area. If they pop in there and just don't see it like right in front of them, then they figure, oh, there's no assignment to do. I don't really have to do the content part of it. I'll just go into Unit 1 and find the thing that I'm supposed to do. So it feels like you're working efficiently, like you can get things done really quickly, but ultimately you're not going to do them well. I mean, maybe you can do like a 5-point thing well or a 10-point thing. You sort of like kind of get through it. But once we get to the major essays for our course, which is going to be the major sort of like assessment things that we do, if you're skipping all the content stuff and then trying to do the assessment, you can see how that may not go well. So one of my big pieces of advice, and this is both for online but also English online particularly, is when you're working through units or even the orientation stuff, that's like going to class. That's the content part of what we're doing. So you wouldn't take, I assume, a face-to-face class, never show up except for test day, and then think, oh, well, this is the important stuff. This is where the points are, so I'll just do the test. You wouldn't do very well. I mean, unless you knew the stuff already, but that would be a whole different situation. So one of the things I find in English is that if you take, let's say, a history class, I'll simplify, right? A history class, you go to class or you engage with the online stuff, you learn a bunch of dates, when people died, when they were born, when certain, trees were signed, whatever. Really factual stuff. Then you take a test and it asks you, like, when was the Treaty of Versailles? And you just fill in the answer. It's either right or wrong. So you went to class, you learned that particular fact, you take a test, you do the assessment part, and then you just get it right or wrong. There's a really clear connection between the class stuff, whether it's online or face-to-face, and the assessment part. It seems to me, in my 10-plus years of teaching, that when people do English classes, they sometimes forget that same connection exists, even though some of the class stuff you do is maybe more engaging than just lecture. It's discussion and things that don't maybe seem connected right off the bat. And then the assessment isn't just a Scantron or fill in the blank, it's an essay. But the connection between the stuff you do, like in our course, the content piece, and the assessment piece is still the same. So if you skip all that content, or if you don't see the assignment right off the bat and then go to the next thing so you can find it, that's like skipping class. It's like not learning the information. And then when it comes to the assessment part, the essay, there's particular things I'm looking for that we've covered in the content. So again, maybe it's the nature of writing that people think it's mysterious or magical, or who knows what the professor's looking for, or you're just born good at it, or you're not born good at it, which is a terrible attitude. But that's just not the case. So one of my goals for our course is that you feel like well situated, you get the layout of the course, you feel connected to me as a person, and to your classmates as a sort of support system, but also that writing is not this mystery. There's clear things that I will be looking for in those big point assignments that we cover in smaller form in all of the units that we do. So if you're going through a unit and going like, oh, another one of these things, or why am I doing this? Well, it's always connected, or it's always leading up to one of those bigger assignments. And if you're skipping through or just kind of doing shoddy stuff through the little stuff, the little things, then doing well on the big things is really difficult, because honestly, the big things, the assessment, is your chance to apply the various concepts we've covered in a sort of holistic way. So again, as you move through the course, there's a couple of things that you really want to keep in mind. Be sure you're taking time to do the course. So if you took this course face-to-face, remember it's an 8-week term. So we would meet, like in the 16-week, you'd meet 3 hours every week, on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So in a 8-week, you double that. So all of a sudden we're at 6 hours a week. So for doing this course online, that's 6 hours every week, and that's just going to class, right? It doesn't include homework or reading or whatever else you might do. So clearly things get a little blurry when you're online because the time is much more flexible. You can do things late at night or early in the morning depending on what fits your schedule. That's the good news. But it doesn't mean that you can somehow now just skip everything that isn't an assignment and do it really quickly and invest like an hour a week or an hour every unit that we're doing and hope to be successful, right? So notice how all of these pieces of advice, it might sound kind of a negative first thing to say, like here's the ways to fail in online class. But all of them are connected, like devoting the time to it, managing your time carefully, seeing the big assignments or the big essays that we do as the opportunity to show me that you've learned course concepts, just like you would do in a Scantron, in a history, a simplified history class, my example. So being successful is, I mean, in many ways it's common sense, right? It's time management, it's working through the material, it's seeing the connection between material and the assessments that we do. But it's useful to have that like kind of in your mind, not just now and then we move on to something else, but almost as like a blanket idea, an umbrella idea as we move through the entirety of the rest of the course. So you're doing something that's worth 20 points out of 1,000 in Unit 3, let's say, and you're just like, oh, why am I doing this? Can't I just move faster, move faster? You almost have to back up and say, okay, it's important that I do this well because I know it's something I'm going to have to apply when the points really matter, when it's a 200-point essay or a 300-point essay. And if I start making significant mistakes there, I'm not just losing 5 or 10 points, I'm losing a lot, like 100. And now all of a sudden the class that's out of 1,000, if you lose 100 on one assignment, right, you're in a B at best. So the ramifications of rushing through, right, even though I know the temptation is there because the course is all there, you could like try to do it all right now. You shouldn't, but you could, I suppose. The temptation is there to like move quickly, but you just can't. It's not going to work. So devoting the time to it, and the other piece of that, which is maybe not so common sense, is to, in the same way if you took this class Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 10 a.m., you wouldn't schedule like yourself to work, or you wouldn't plan to go to the grocery store or take the kids to the park at 10 a.m. on a Monday, right? You block out that time because you physically have to be in that particular spot. You almost have to do the same thing with an online class. Even though there's not like an actual class meeting that we all go to, you have to make sure that you've blocked out time on a regular basis, right? That's 6 hours a week or whatever it's going to take for you, that there's not other stuff going on. So you have to like cut yourself a break in some ways. You can't expect to do this class on a laptop on the bus or on your phone while you're driving somewhere or some crazy thing like that. Just like you wouldn't, right, schedule something while you're taking that 10 a.m. face-to-face class. Like you're not going to conference call at work at 10:15 because you're already in class. You couldn't do it. So, treat yourself well. Say that I'm taking this class and I'm going to give myself the time to be successful, which means your time, not a bunch of stuff going on. You're not at work trying to do it. You have to have a computer that's like yours, a quiet space to work, all that stuff. Maybe a John Deere calendar. I don't know, whatever works for you. But anyway, okay, I'll cut myself off here. Like I said, always be looking for these video announcements. If you have any questions or concerns, always be in touch with me. I'll get right back to you. I hope you enjoy the class, honestly. I hope you like connecting with your classmates. I hope the class is laid out in a way that you don't have to sort of stumble around a whole bunch before you figure out how we move through each of the units and our due dates and all that kind of stuff. And obviously, if you see any just mistakes, like stuff that doesn't work, a link's broken, I spelled something wrong, just let me know, and I'll go right in and fix it. Okay, so welcome to the fall term here, our quick 8-week course, English 1102, and I look forward to meeting everybody in Unit 1.